This is Gemara in Gittin, Daf Pei Tes, closing in the final daf of this incredible Masechta B'Siyata D'Shmaya. We'll be Messiahim tomorrow, starting Kedushin for Tuesday. Apologies on the bit lateness of today's shir. We're picking up on the second line of Pei Tes Amid Aleph. We concluded yesterday with some Gemaras that dealt with calls. Now, what is the status of different calls, different rumors of someone that was mikudeshes, someone that was migureshes? Do we assume that they actually are mikudeshes, they can't marry anyone else? Even if they're not actually migureshes, maybe it's enough of a gerushin to say that there's what we call reach haget, which means that they can't marry a kohen, etc. And from there we pick up on Pei Tes Amid Aleph, says the Gemara, Amar Rava, Yotz Hashem mizaneh bo'ir. What happens if there's a shame, if there's a call that a certain unmarried woman was mizana, that she had illegal relations? What does it mean that she was mizana, in what particular form? Rashi over here explains that we're talking that she was mizana with a guy or with an eved, and therefore those are situations of zinos that would passel her from kuna. Says the Gemara, Ein Chayshishin law, we don't have to worry about such a rumor. My time, what's the reason? My time, what's the reason? Says the Gemara, that Ein Chayshish law, we don't have to worry about such a call that she was mizana. Why don't we say that she's actually passel to a kohen? Says the Gemara, B'ritzutza ba'alma hu dechazila. Must be that I saw this woman being a prutza, but not necessarily that she was mizana. Says the Gemara that this din that we just said, if we see a woman being acting in a prutzadik manner, that we say that she wasn't actually mizana. Says the Gemara, Kitanoi, 4 lines down, this fact is a machlekes tanoim, that we found that achla b'shuk, what's the status if we see a married woman that she's eating in the street, girgura b'shuk, she sees she's walking with her head held high, hinika b'shuk, she's nursing in the street, in all these cases which are not the most refined ways of acting, but kulan Rameir Oimer Teitze. Rameir says she has to get divorced because we assume that all these women were actually mizana, and therefore she's not allowed to stay married to her husband. Whereas Rabbi Kiva Oimer, no, Misha Yisu v'yitnu la moizeres abalavana. The only time that we say that she has to get divorced is when literally it means she spins by the light of the moon. Those that spin by the light of the moon discuss her, which means that they're mamish hacking that she was actually mizaneh. Amrle Rabbi Yochanan Nuri, says Rabbi Yochanan Nuri, if it's true, says Rabbi Yochanan Nuri, that a mere rumor that if they're talking about her that she was mizaneh, she has to get divorced. If that's true, lo yinachta baslav Avinu. It can't be. There's going to be no one to be able to stay married. Everyone talks about everyone. And says the only time you'll have to get divorced, stayed in Torah, is only if you find an actually Erev Davar. And elsewhere it says, I'll be Shlayim Eidim, I'll be Shlayim Eidim, Yokana Davar. And from here we learn out, it says of Yechlam Nuri, Mal Halon Davar Barur, Afghan Davar Barur. That it's not a mere rumor, but rather it has to be, if it is a davar barer that there were edim, that is where she has to get divorced. Says the Gemara, this thing that we started with of Rava, that potentially a woman would have to get divorced based on a call, is indeed a machlekes tanoim. Continues the Gemara, 12 lines down, the 2 dots, Tanu Rabbanan, Be'ula ein chayshishin la. If there is a rumor that a woman who was not married is assumed that she was ba'ula, that she had relations, what's the halacha? Ein chayshin la, we don't have to worry about such a rumor. Nisua, but if there's a rumor that if a woman who's unmarried is married as well, ein chayshin la. Arusa, there's a rumor that she was did kedushin, ein chayshin la. Shaloi leploini, ein chayshin la. It's a rumor that she did kedushin, but not to so-and-so, meaning we don't know exactly who it was, in Chayshin La. Bir Acheres, if there's rumor that this happened in another city, in Chayshin La. Mamzeres, if it's rumor that it was to Mamzeres, in Chayshin La. Shivcha, in Chayshin La. In all these cases, Hiktish Pliny Nechaysav, if a certain man was makdish his properties, Hivker Pliny Nechaysav, in all these cases, Ein Chayshin La. These are all rumors that we do not have to worry about. So says the Gemara, after listing a whole list of rumors that we do not have to worry about, let's go back to the din in our Mishnah. The din in the Mishnah that if there's a rumor about Kiddushin, we have to be suspectful of that rumor. Says the Gemara, when does that apply? Amar Ula lo shamu kol havara. This doesn't mean that there was a rumor that she was mikudeshes. Literally means that you hear the sound of the havara, of the echo, that it was just gossip. Ella kidei she'inerois dolkois umitois mutzais ubnei adam nechnasin v'yotzim v'oimrim ploinis miskadeshes hayoim. It has to be that there was a room, that there were candles burning, and there were couches, and there were tables, and people are coming and going, that this person was mikudeshes. Only in such a scenario do we say that it's a real call, it's not a mere rumor, it's an actual, they're talking about the actual meal, the guests are at the Suda, then we say that we take the rumor seriously. Says the Gemara, miskadeshes. What does it mean that it says that she was miskadeshes? Maybe not, meaning maybe they're sitting there at the Erusin, they're all hacking up, they just got married, they just did Kedushin, but maybe it never happened. Says Gemara, you're right. Ema ploni niskat shayoim, not that she will. There's two different ways of talking. One way of talking is that everyone's saying, oh, it's about to happen, that Leah's about to get married, she's about to have Erusin. Says the Gemara, that's not enough because maybe it never happened. But if it's actually that they said, Plainis was niskat, it happened already, and it's a scenario that they're all sitting around at the Suda, that's a case that we indeed assume actually happened. Tana Levi, and similarly Levi taught, Lo sheshamu kol havara, that they heard the echo, literally the gossip, the women are spinning and hacking, excuse me, the law, and they're happy for this woman, Vaimeris, and they say, Plonis miskacha, same kacha miskateshes, Tamalai kacha, Marapapa Amy Ploini, not that she will be, but rather niskacha. So two statements proving the same point, that if there's an actual party and everyone's standing there around talking about the beautiful Eris and the beautiful Kedusha that happened in the past, then we do give such a statement validity. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Chana, another version of the above, Amar Rav Yechanan, Lo shishamu kol havara, not that you heard the echo, the gossip, like Teishin Eris, Dolkos mitas mutzais, B'nei Adam, Nechnasin v'yotzin, Amru davar zeh. And they say this matter, and they say, Amru davar, if they said something happened today, Zehu kol, that's a mere rumor. Loi Amru davar, if they not say anything, Zehu amasla, that is the explanation. If they're just sitting there, but they're not actually talking about the Erusin, then we don't necessarily assume that it happened. Says the Gemara, Loi Amru, if they didn't say anything, then you're saying that's the amasla, that's the explanation. V'loi Amru, they didn't say anything, v'loi klum. How is that anything? Says the Gemara, no, lafukim with Rabbi Rav Huna. This explains, not like Rabbi Rav Huna Damar. Rabbi Rav Huna explains what's an amasla, what's an explanation fact. Shamru afilu mikan vad yudi amim. Rabbi Rav Huna said, you can even have an amasla up to 10 days later after the rumor surfaced. Kamash Mulan, this brayso of Rabbi Yechanan is teaching us, Lo amru hu dahave amasla. Only if in that scenario, if within the original call, within the original party, there is the amasla, that's when there's an amasla. Ha'amru, but if there's a real call without anything else, you can't afterwards destroy that call. Lo yahavi amasla, and he argues, and it can't be created an amasla explanation up to 10 days later. Says the Gemara, okay, so those are the cases where we have a call about Kiddushin, about Erusin, about marriage. Now continues the Gemara, mimicking the order of the Mishnah. Continues the Gemara, let's discuss a case of a call about Kiddushin and about Gerushin. Says the Gemara, 10 lines from the wide lines. First one line is Havia Amasla. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Abba, Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav, Lo yisheshamu kol havara el kedisha amru, ploini mehechan shama. But rather they have to explain that Miplaini Mechan Shama, so and so, where did he hear it from? Miplaini, from him. Uplaini, Miplaini, you could trace back the game of broken telephone. Ubalkin Vaholchin, and they check and they go. Ad shemagin l'davar habara, till they reach the actual fact. That's the case in which there's validity to the call, to the rumor. Says the Gemara, davar habara. Is it really a davar habarer? It's not just a davar habarer. If you trace back the Reuven from Shimon, from Levi, Yehuda to Yisachar, all the way back to Zvulun, that said he was the one that started it. That's not a rumor. That's not a call. That's not a call with the status of a davar habarer. Says the Gemara, that's an Eidos Mal. That's full-fledged Eidos testimony. Says the Gemara, you're right. Elo ki aser of Shmuel bar Yehuda amar Rav Abba amar Rav Huna amar Rav. You know what he meant to say? Lo sheshamu kol havara. Not that they heard a mere rumor, 2 lines from the wide lines. Elo kadeshi amru, but rather means ploini mechan sham, already hear from me. Ploini mi ploini v'halchu lahem l'medina sayam. You could trace it all the way back, but the original person is not there to fully corroborate the story. That's the call with validity. That's what he meant to say in the first wide line. Says the Gemara, Amar le Abaye le Rav Yosef, Mivatlinan kala loy mivalinan. Now we discuss all these different cases of kolos. What is lemaisa? What do we do with the call afterwards? Once we have a call that was accepted, then we find out that though people come back from Dinas Hayam, they say it's not true. So mivatlinan kala, do we negate it or not? Meaning, does Bezdin put out a proclamation that the call is false, and whatever they decided based on that call, they say is no longer the truth? So Amar Lehi responds, Midamar Rav Chisda Shema Piak Shirim. For the fact that Rav Chisda said that until they hear from the mouth of the Kishirim, from the qualified witnesses, Shemami enough from here we have a Raya Mivatlin on Kala. Amar Lehi, Abai says no. Adarabah, Medamar Rav Sheishes, I feel like maybe Nashim have a call. We have a call even from women. Shemamina lo mivalin kala. So machlekes whether we indeed are mevatel it or not. And Amar Lei Rav Yosef responds as at Ravasa Ninu. There are different minhagim. There are different towns. Besura mivalin kala, but bin Hardai loy mivalin kala. Depends where you come from. It's not actually a machlekes. Different towns and different customs. Continues the Gemara. A few stories, 4 lines into the wide lines. There was a woman, there was a call that she got married to whom? Lebar Rav, to a certain Talmud. Asi Rav Chama Lavua. Rav Chama called her father, Amar Lei, and asked the father, tell me what the story was. Amar Lei, the father said, it's true there was Kedushin, but al Tenai Kaddish. It was with a Tenai. And you know what the Tenai was? The Tenai was that the student does not go to Beichazai. But you know what happened? Unfortunately, Vazal. He went to Beichazai. Therefore, the father says there was never really any kedushin. Amar lei. So Rav Chama says, since while there was a call, lavi amasla, there wasn't this amasla, there wasn't this fact explaining it. Lav kol kaminach lemechazkas amalsa. There's nothing we could do. There's no way to establish the amalsa. It says the Gemara, lav kol kaminach lemechazkas amalsa. And therefore it's too late, and rather there is this call that this woman was married, and there's nothing we can do about it. Story number 1. Story number 2, there was a call that a woman was married. That she was married with a date, some little bit of dates by the Mayan, by the spring of Beishefi. Shalchu la Ravidi Barav in 3 lines to the bottom of the Kamei Abayo. Read the Barav and said to Abayo, Ki Ayavna Mai. What is the story in this case? Even according to Vandam that says we're not mevatel kol, but in this case we are indeed mevatelin kala. Why? Because because people are going to say Aini bu Rabbanon b'kidushi, because people will say they looked into it. And there wasn't a Shava Pruta. Since the original story was one that people eventually assume could have been something with an amasla that's considered a case in which there was indeed an amasla, and then we will be about to call even at a later date. So in story number 1, which there was just a regular call that the woman who accepted Kedushin, that unfortunately, even though the father said that there was a Kedushin al Tanai, and the husband did not uphold the Tanai, there was nothing that could be done. But in this case, there was. Continues the Gemara in the last line, there was a woman that there was a rumor that she was Mikudeshes, moving over to Pei Tessamid Beis, Lachad B'nei Planya, to one of the sons of so-and-so. But we don't know which one. Amar Rava, Filaman Derman Lina Kala, Ba'am Lina Kala. Why? Because Mimam Rabbanan, Aini Rabbanan, Bekidushi, Kedusha Katan Habi. We're going to say that they looked into it, and it was indeed to one of his sons, which is a Katan, so it was never a Kedushin. Next story, 4 lines down, there was a rumor that a certain woman got married to a Katan Anir Legadol, who looks like a Gadol. Amalei, Rav Mordechai, Rav Ashi, Havi Ovda, Amru. There was such a case that they said, Adayin, Lo Yigia Lepalgos, that he didn't actually reach adulthood. Ruvain, Adayin Lo Yigia Leflagois Ruvain. He didn't actually reach the case of the pasuk that says with regard to Ruvain's separation. Shenamar, as the pasuk says, the Falkis Ruvain Gedolim Chikri Leiv, and therefore we're learning out that it has to be a gadol. And in this case, the child is not a gadol, therefore there was no actual kedushin. We continue by quoting the din in the Mishnah, 8 lines down by the 2 dots. This is the source that if there's an amasla, if there's a mitigating fact, if there's something that says that this rumor is not actually MS, then there's no validity to the rumor. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Huna amasla sha'amru, as we just saw in Amar Aleph. Says the opinion of Rabbi Huna is, you could have this mitigating fact even up till 10 days. So what's the psak? Rav Zvid Amar, says Rav Zvid, in the place of the amasla, chayshel amasla, we are worried about, and we are chayshish for the amasla. Ask the Gemara, you see our popular Rav Zvid, what do you mean? But the Mishnah said only if there is no amasla. The Mishnah applies that you actually have to find out about the amasla. So why are you telling me b'makim amasla? Makim amasla doesn't mean in a place of amasla. It means if there's a potential for amasla, then we're a chayshish. Why? The Mishnah said there actually has to be one. So Amarli responds, makim amasla kamar. When the Mishnah says when there is a masla, it means in a place where there's a potential amasla, but doesn't actually have to have an amasla. On this fact, whether you need a masla or just a potential, do you not actually agree that having a potential for a masla is enough? But we learned in a Mishnah, if there was a need that a woman was, that her husband died, and she did a kiddushin to another man, and then you know what happens, her husband shows up, what's the halacha? She's got to go back to first husband, not receiving a get. Why? Because the husband's over here. People are going to think that was a kedushin, that there was a gerushin. La mishum da amri al tanai kaddish. Not because, the reason is because we're going to say that people are going to say that the second husband married her al tanai, and now that the husband's here, obviously that tanai is null and void. So what do we see? We see even without an actual amasla, the mere potential for an amasla, the fact that the story lends itself to an amasla, that's enough. So as the Gemara that seemingly we see, b'makim amasla, the potential for an amasla should be enough. Answers the Gemara in defense of Rav Papa, shani asam dasi bal v'kama arer. That's not just a case where there's a potential for an amasla, says the Gemara. Or rather, says the Gemara, the husband actually comes. That's a different story. Says the Gemara, really? If it's a different story when the husband actually comes, so even if it's actually nisuin, says the Gemara, no. Because nisays to avdi surah, and therefore kansua rabbanon. If she actually did nisuin, then she did an isser, because she was a married woman that did nisuin, that she slept with another man. Therefore, it's a din to rabbanon, there's a kanas, she can't go back to her first husband. Says the Gemara, whereas niskacha to avdi surah, she didn't actually have relations yet, therefore, loy kansua rabbanon. Amar Rav Ashi, rules Rav Ashi, called kala dloi ichsek b'beidina, the status, any call which is not muchzak in bezdin, lav kol lahu, does not have the status of a call. V'omer Ravashi continues and he says, "Kol kola debasa nisuin." Any call that comes out after nisuin, after a woman is fully married, lo yichashin Allah. Says the Gemara, the fact Ravashi said after nisuin. What's the obvious implication? But if it was after erusin, then we are chashin Allah. That we are chayshish for it. Whereas Rav Chaviva argues and he says, "Archiva Amar afilu debasa erusin." Nami loy chashin Allah. What's the halacha? V'elchasa loy chashin Allah. We're not worried even after erusin. And we conclude today's share with a shayla of Rav Yirmiyah. Amar Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba, says Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba, Shal chulei mi bei Rav l'Shmuel. He sent from the yeshiva Rav to Yishmuel. Yamdeinu Rabbeinu. Rabbi taught us Yatzalel kol merisha. And if there's a rumor that a woman did kedushin to one man, then another man comes and does a full-fledged kedushin, meaning there are two eidim that the second man did kedushin. Mahu, what's the story? We have a call that she was mikudeshes to Ruvain, but we have two eidim that she was mikudeshes to Shemin. Says the Gemara, Shalch Lei, Shmuel responded, Teitzei, she has to leave the second man. And you have to try to look into the matter. You have to find out, is the rumor true? And tell me what the story is. Says the Gemara, what does Shmuel mean? What did Shmuel mean? If it is that we find out the first kedusha was nothing, and therefore Vadlina Kol Vivatel the Kol, Varnar Doi. Now this goes back to we saw in the bottom of Amud Aleph that all depends on the place. And Nar Doi, they're not Mevatel the Kol, and that is Nar Doi Asid Shmuel Uvalam Vadlina Kol. So what's going on over here? Elo, rather we must say, you know what Shmuel meant. You find that the first kedusha is a good kedusha, and then lo tzricha get misheni. That's what Shmuel meant. Then you won't even need a get from the second one. It says the Gemara that this din is 6 lines from the white lines. Pliga de Rav Huna, Dam Rav Huna. Ish is ish. Apashta yadav. If you have a married woman that goes and accepts, Asha yadav v'kibli kedusha me'achar. The halacha is mikudeshes mit Rav Hamnuna. What does that mean? Dam Rav Hamnuna the isha shamru lebayla. If a woman said to her husband, Girashtani, you divorced me. What's the halacha? And then she's believed. Why? Therefore, similarly, if she accepted kedusha from another man, it's tantamount to her saying she was divorced, and therefore she would actually need a get from the second person. Whereas v'idach, what a Shmuel hold, Gittin to Rav Amnuna b'fanav, that's only in front of the husband. That's where it's an azus, where shalei b'fanav me'iza. She would indeed have the chutzpah. That's machlekes Shmuel and Rav Amnuna, whether she would need a get for the second husband if we find that the first rumor is to be true. And we'll finish up tomorrow b'siyata d'shmaya from the first wide line.